Hi, I'm Carl Bearden, the Executive Director of United for Missouri. We're joined today by Senate President Pro Tem Tom Dempsey. Welcome, Senator.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Well, you know, we've been associated for a while. Sometimes that's good or bad, but always enjoyed serving with you and your service. And right now you're dealing with some pretty tough issues all across the state, but most importantly to personal data collection and the use of that data is this DOR scandal. Clearly, they're breaking state law that Governor Nixon himself signed into law. So you signed off a subpoena, which is a highly unusual event. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, on rare occasion have we actually had to go to the extent of filing a subpoena to get documents from one of our administrative agencies. And that's what we had to do in this case, to try to get to the bottom of the story. We did have a meeting in my office, prior to issuing the subpoena, where we talked to the DOR director, addressed our concerns in a leadership meeting. We're told that they weren't sharing this information, and then consequently there was a hearing in the Appropriations Committee less than a week later where they admitted that they were sharing the information, and it's just, the problem is just cascaded. And yesterday we got 16 boxes of documents with the potential to get another 24 boxes, and I'm thinking, we could have gotten this information away where it was searchable.
Sure. Right.
And we could have very quickly put this issue to bed. Either they either did or they didn't, and I think the documents will demonstrate that.
Well, a lot of things that I've heard recorded. I mean, so we're not just going off hearsay. We're a lot. What you all have done in committee is that they can't produce that in writing for the most part. Senator Schaefer, I know, asked them, can they produce the fact that this data has been destroyed by the vendor, and all they have is verbal confirmation. They do not have any written confirmation. So that doesn't give you a real sense of security that personal data is being protected, does it?
No, not at all. And Senator Schaefer, to his credit, has really taken a leadership role. And because of his position Appropriations Chair, we think he's probably the one who's able to speak the loudest about how good it would be for Department of Revenue to give us exactly what we're asking for.
But I have collective experience through that budget process.
Yeah, you do.
And usually when the House Budget Chair, the Senate Appropriations Chair says, I want something, I want this information, the departments are pretty forthcoming about it. But for some reason, they are not. Which again makes you suspicious, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of gets to that skepticism that people have with government. Right. If you're not sharing it, then what's the reason? Is there something? It just it looks shady. It gives the appearance that you're doing something improper because you're not willing to disclose to the public, your decision making or the process that you followed.
Right. So Senator Schaefer's made it very clear that if he doesn't have the answers, and so far he doesn't, then he is more than willing and able to make significant reductions in the DOR budget when it comes out of the Senate. Is that something you're supportive of?
Oh, definitely. But we need to do our due diligence, and I criticize others for shooting first and asking questions later. Well, we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard, and so we're going to use whatever staff is necessary to pour through those documents and get the answers that we need to get. And if we still don't have a resolution with the Department of Revenue, then we're willing to exercise other authority that we have under the budget process.
So the issue was basically it came to light through a gentleman down southeast Missouri who went in to get his concealed carry permit, which by law all that requires is that you have the certificate from the sheriff, who's already checked your ID, who's already checked your fingerprints, who already has verified who you are. And so now we hear that that this gentleman was requested to have a birth certificate and other documents, and when he could not or would not produce them, they wouldn't give him his concealed carry permit. So that in itself is a violation of state law.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touch on an important point. There are going to be people that say, well, this is just Republicans disagreeing with Democrats, and but it was the citizens of the state of Missouri, and it wasn't only this gentleman, others who were wondering, who had concern that here they've had this process where they've gone to get their license renewed time and time again, and why were they having to produce documents that they've never had to produce before, and then seeing concealed carry permits and other birth certificates and other personal material copied caused them great concern, and it was those concerns that were then, sent to their legislators by, by call or by email, and that's really what started our actions.
Right. So now we've talked to several folks, and the general understanding appears to be the DOR in one of the interviews, I believe it was with Senator Schaefer, indicated that all the contractor was getting was your height, weight, color of eyes, etc. But that doesn't appear to be the case, that once that document is scanned, whether it's your birth certificate, your bank account, whatever it is, that's actually being transmitted to that contractor. Is that your understanding?
Yes, that's my understanding. And identity theft is a problem that we're all having to deal with, and periodically we see cases where let's say an internet service provider that thousands of email passwords were compromised.
Right.
I mean, you see these cases time and time again where, despite a company's best efforts, others are able to hack those databases and get that information, and then do very bad things to your financial records.
So you have that concern, and then you have a legitimate concern, I believe, of a lot of people, and they're not left wing or right wing nuts or whatever you want to call them, but people who are concerned about who has that data. Any level of government, whether it's state, whether it's federal, has access to everything about you, and that causes a lot of people concern. So, well, we appreciate the fact that you all have taken such a forceful action. Again, the subpoena is very unusual. They're talked about from time to time, but very rarely used. You felt like you were not getting the answers that you needed to be able to answer your constituents statewide, and so you took that action. So we appreciate the fact that you all took that extra step, and that you're continuing to pursue this on behalf of the people of Missouri.
No, I appreciate your efforts to get this story out and to give the public a greater understanding of exactly the problems that we're having and how we're trying to deal with it.
All right. Thanks, Senator Dempsey.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Good to see you, Carl.